Now let's go on to guided practice, and let's do this together. Number one. Take a close look at number one. We have here on the textbook, you can see that these are all fraction strips, and we have one whole, let's say it's a one whole candy bar. And then we have representations of fourths here. We have 1/4, another fourth, and then we have representations of thirds, 1/3, 1/3. I have a bigger diagram right here. Now, here's one whole candy bar, and this one here looks like it's been divided up into fourths. If we were to continue this on, and let's say I continue, if I continue the whole thing on, you'll notice that I can put two more here. That's a 1/4, right? And this is 1/4. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 fourths equals one whole. And so this is 1/4 and 1/4. So here we have that amount. So I'm going to go ahead and erase that. And then down here for the thirds, this is a size of 1 out of 3 pieces. And I could continue this on here to show you. Here's another third that's just not showing up. Okay? 1, 2, 3. 3 pieces, 3/3 equals one whole. Okay? So I will erase that. All right, so what is represented here? Well, we have 1/4 plus 1/4, so that would be 2/4, right? So we want to compare 2/4. And if it's less than, greater than, or equal to 1, 2, we have a third and a third, so that's 1 plus 1 is 2. We have 2/3. So what we have is, first, remember, we are comparing the size of the whole piece is the same. And so we were just looking at a fraction that's 2/4, 2 out of the 4 pieces, or 2/3, or 2 out of 3 pieces. So is 2/4 equal to, less than, or larger than 2/3? Okay, well, you can see visually that 2/4 does not take up, if I was to bring this all the way up, 2/4, whoops, that doesn't look like a very good color, does it? Let's do blue. 2/4 covers half of this, right? But if we were to bring up 2/3, it goes all the way to there. It covers all of this. So 2/4 is actually less than 2/3. So we'd say 2/4 is less than 2/3. Remember, the crocodile always has its mouth open to the bigger piece, the bigger section. And once again, I want you to focus now. Look, the numerators are the same. In this instance, instead of just one piece, there's 2 pieces. We have 2 of the fourths against 2 of the thirds. They're the same. So we can look at the denominator and say, here's 3, here's 4. In fractions, when the numerator is the same, but the denominator is different, the bigger piece, the bigger amount, will be the smaller denominator. So in this case, 3 is smaller than 4. So this is actually a bigger piece. It's the exact opposite. But remember, thirds, you're dividing this whole up into 3 pieces instead of 4 pieces. And so the 3 pieces are going to be bigger than the 4 pieces. Same thing would be true, man. If I divided this up into eighths, into 8 pieces, how small those pieces would be compared to thirds. Okay? Now for number 2, we'll move on, and this time we won't even draw a picture, okay? We're just going to look at the fraction. Now for number 2, All we're given are two fractions to look at and compare them without the picture, without the fraction strips. So let's try to tackle this without the fraction strips, and then let's back it up with actually drawing those fraction strips and see if we're correct. So here's what I want to walk you through, because you're going to be doing this in independent practice. When you're comparing fractions, first thing you want to make sure is the fraction here. If the whole thing, say it's a candy bar, is this whole candy bar the same size as this whole candy bar? It better be, because if this candy bar is this big and this candy bar is this big, then we can't compare fractions, okay? We have to have a situation where the two wholes are the same size, okay? Now let's assume that that is the case. Okay, we're not given that information, but we're going to assume that that is exactly what's happening here, okay? So the next thing you want to do is look at the denominator. They're different. Okay, that's going to cause some issues. So now let's look at the numerator. If the numerator is the same, okay, so are they the same? 3. So we have 3 out of the 6 pieces here. And then here we have 3 out of the 8 pieces. Okay, so the numerator is the same. Then the next thing we can do is now look at the denominator to make the decision on which fraction is larger. Now remember, in fractions, if the numerator is the same, the denominator, the smaller the denominator, the bigger the pieces. So 6 is definitely smaller than 8. So 3 of those 6 pieces will give you more than 3 of the 8 pieces. So we would want to say that 3/6 is greater than 3/8. That alligator is going to be eating the 3/6, going to get a bigger piece. Now let's back this up with a picture. Let's make sure that we're right on target here. So I'm going to draw my fraction bar. Here's my whole fraction bar. Okay. In fact, why don't we draw 2 whole fraction bars? So we're comparing, let's say, 2 same size candy bars. The first one we're going to represent on 3/6. So we need to divide this first one into 6ths. So I'm going to divide this in half. That gives me 2. And then on the left side, I'm going to make these 3 equal size pieces. And then on the right side, I'll make 3 equal size pieces. So that gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'll shade in 3 of them with my handy dandy shading tool. All right, there we go. We have 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6, right? Equals 3/6. Now, for this one, we'll divide them up into 8ths. So first I'll divide that up into half, 2 on each side, and then I'll do 4 equal parts over here, 4 equal parts over here. So I go half, 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 half. There we go. I got 8 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I need 3 of them. Get my handy dandy shading tool. I'll make a different color. Oh yeah. We'll do 3 of those babies. 1/8, 1/8, and 1/8. And as you can see visually, holy mackerel, look at how much more space 3/6 takes up of the whole than 3/8. Look at that. So remember, man, if you want more of that candy bar, make sure that those pieces, there's less pieces per candy bar. That's going to give you bigger amounts. Because as soon as you start cutting them up into more pieces, the smaller they have to be, right? All right, let's go on to number 3.